Hi everyone, thanks for joining us. Welcome to the first Runway webinar. All right, first up, my name's Jake and this is Lena.
Hi.
We're the OzRunways support team amongst a few other things. Out on the road you might have seen us getting around to aero clubs, answering your questions there, or maybe answering your questions on support. But that's us. What are we going to do tonight? We're going to have a look at a few things. We've picked out a couple of topics that we want to take you through. We won't spend too long on it though, because after that we want to get into some Q&A and get your questions answered. But before we get into what we want to go through, we've got something we want to show you really quickly. So a couple of months ago now, some of us went over to Lake Macquarie to catch up with Matt Hall. And while we were there, we thought we'd film a video, had a lot of fun doing it, and this is what we came up with. Enjoy.
We plan all our flights with OzRunways, made down under for Aussie and Kiwi pilots. It saves us so much flight planning time, and I like to work smarter, not harder.
Whether I'm flying for work or fun, I always take OzRunways with me. I need to know what's out there and who's out there with me. By reducing workload, I can concentrate on the fun stuff. The app increases safety by giving me overall situational awareness. Everything is just a tap away.
Whether I'm flying hang gliders, race planes or jets, I can always rely on OzRunways. It's the best EFB on the market, and it's the only app we need.
Hope everyone enjoyed that. Like I said, we had a lot of fun doing it. You guys are the second lot to see it. We showed it at the first webinar and now here, so a little sneak peek there. But let's jump into what we want to go through tonight. So like I said before, just a couple of topics that we want to take you through really. I'm going to have a bit of a look at traffic, and then we'll have a look at some of the new features in the last kind of 6 to 12 months, mostly around planning. And then after that we'll jump into some Q&A. So please get your questions ready for the end, but also if you want to ask questions along the way, please send them through, and we'll do our best to answer them as we go. Especially if they're relevant to what we're talking about. All right, so I'm gonna start off by having a bit of a look at the traffic in Runway and the different kind of traffic sources or systems we've got. So the first thing I want to have a look at is the OzRunway or runway traffic, which you'd probably be familiar with. If I zoom in a bit on the screen here, you might see those blue traffic dots. So these are other OzRunways or runway users who are flying around at the moment, broadcasting their position information, and they've got their traffic system turned on. So we can tap on these guys just to enlarge it a bit and bring up a bit more information. So when they're enlarged like this, you might notice that you can see that ground speed there. You might also notice that their planned kind of track has come up in the magenta line there. So if they've made a plan in Runway, then that's what you're going to see when you tap on them there. You can change the size of these bubbles as well. If you have a look in the top right corner here, we've got our traffic symbol button. If I tap on that one, we've got a bubble size slider. So if I, for example, jump out of there, if I turn that slider all the way up and now jump back to the map page, those bubbles are heaps bigger now.
Highly requested feature.
Highly requested feature, and that's where you can find it. So that's our OzRunways or runway traffic system. It's pretty good for, especially for keeping an eye on friends and family. So if you've got someone on the ground looking out for you, You can get them to jump onto our traffic website, which is tx.ozrunways.com. We'll pop that in the chat as well. That website shows all the OzRunways or runway traffic all around the world. So you can kind of see anyone who's out and about, has an internet connection and is sharing that traffic. So good for friends and family to keep an eye on you and see where you are. When you're up in the air, it can be useful as well, you know, to see a few extra people around. But really, when you're in the air, you're going to want the best solution you can get, and at the moment that is ADS-B. So ADS-B is the gold standard solution because it doesn't rely on all these third-party things, you know, like having an internet connection and making sure you've got data left on your cellular plan. It beats getting like a traffic feed from certain sources because those feeds are powered by ground-based receiver networks. So you never know where there is and isn't coverage because you don't know where the ground receivers are. So if you're looking at a feed, you may not be seeing anyone there, but there could be someone there. There just might not be a receiver around. So what you want really is a receiver of your own in the aircraft with you that's picking up those ADS-B signals directly. So this one that I'm holding up here is called a SkyEcho, pretty popular device. So this SkyEcho here, it does ADS-B in, so it's an ADS-B receiver, but it also does portable ADS-B out. So essentially ADS-B for situational awareness, so other people with ADS-B in can pick you up. So as of maybe 6 or so months ago, every runway subscription includes ADS-B integration. So you can grab yourself an ADS-B device and hook it up to runway. So the way you would do that, most of these devices work pretty similarly. You switch them on, and once they're powered on, what you want to do is jump into settings, which is down in the bottom right corner here. And in settings, we've got traffic right at the bottom. So if I tap, sorry, not traffic, external devices, excuse me. So if I jump into external devices, I can now select external device network. So the receiver is going to spit out a Wi-Fi network and you want to connect to it in here. You don't want to connect to it in your tablet's Wi-Fi settings because then if you are using a SIM card for mobile data or a hotspot of some sort, that's going to stop working. So instead you want to come into runway, into the runway settings and select external device network. So that'll just have a look around.
Or an aeroplane mode.
And there we go. So we've got SkyEcho up the top there. So that'll be connected now. It'll ask us, do we want to connect? Yep. So there we go. So we can see that one's connected. Now, because we're inside at the moment, we won't be picking up any traffic, but we can see that the SkyEcho is connected. So ADS-B is line of sight. So we're in a big concrete building at the moment, so we're not going to pick anyone up. But that's how you get it going there. So I might end the traffic section on that, seeing as we're 7:25 now, but Lena is going to take you through some of the recent new features to do with planning. Lena?
Awesome, thank you. Thanks for the mic. Hopefully I won't put my finger on it. Awesome. Well, as you may have noticed, there's been a few updates in Runway, and one of the latest and greatest ones that we've added is the aircraft and pilot profiles. Before, you would have had to add in your TAS and fuel burn with every flight plan that you've made. But now all you have to do is just go into this quick plan button here, tap on it, tap on it, and when you've got a plan selected, you'll see aircraft profiles and pilot profiles listed on the map screen. So I'll show you where you can find that. Head to settings. And for those that don't see aircraft or pilot profiles, head over to the App Store, or Play Store, sorry, and update the app. But for those that have their app updated, that's great. You'll see aircraft listed here, where the pink dot is, and pilots listed here. So if I've tapped in pilots, there we go. You can add the name and number, and that will just automatically go to your NAIPS flight plan, which I'll show you in a second after. But we'll head on over to the aircraft section. And if you've never opened it before, what you would see in the top is just aircraft. But we've already created some profiles here that you can see on the device. I'll just tap into this top demo one and basically just fill in the fields as you would the information from the POH. So you've got, your cruise TAS and all the other information you will use in the NAIPS flight plan. So it looks, the questions look very similar because they help transfer this information into the flight plan that you add later on. There's question marks next to the fields, so tap on the question marks. They're interactive and they'll give you an explanation of what is needed in that field. So once you've created the aircraft profile, you do have the option to activate it, and what that means, you can see at the top, our demo aircraft is activated. What that means is when you go to the maps in the flight plan, I'll just quickly demonstrate it, it will be the first one listed there. So if you have 10 aircraft profiles, whatever profile is active will be the default aircraft. If I pop into another aircraft profile here that's not active, you'll notice in the top right hand corner there's the rubbish bin, that's to delete the aircraft profile, and the activate button, so you can change what is active. So that's aircraft profiles in a nutshell in the settings. I'll just head on over to the maps and just demonstrate to you as well quickly. If I switch aircraft, you can see that the time and fuel burn has changed. So it adjusts for the aircraft profile. Now, if I tap the little eye symbol in the very top right-hand corner, you would be familiar with this one. You'll notice there's no more performance box. So usually there's a performance box in this area, but that's gone because of the profiles. But you'll see files. So files where we go to the flight plan. And as you can see, we had EFB as our selected aircraft. And you can see in the fields here, we've got our aircraft and pilot profile should be listed at the bottom here, Jim Pilot with the number. So that's all pre-filled, saves a bit of time. For me, it's certainly really helpful. I like to private hire different aircraft, and it makes it much quicker to just hop in the plane, and when I want to make a flight plan, it's already pretty much in there, even the flight plan. So that's pretty much all on the aircraft and pilot profiles. I'll move on to Quick Planner. So Quick Planner is something I kind of touched on just before. So it's this icon with the circles and lines. I'll just put the dot, missing the dot. It's just the icon to the left of the search icon. We've just lost our pink dot. But you'll find in Quick Planner before, as mentioned, when you did your planning, you would just use the search icon or the tap on map method. But now you can press this Quick Plan button in the bottom right corner of this box, and you can just tap and write in your waypoints. For example, I'll make from Archerfield, and what you can also do is in the middle of typing, it will give you list options. So I'll go, what's another? Mary, that's a good one. You can type the full name exactly like that, and the top option is Maryborough, which is where we want to go. If I press space now, it will pre-fill Maryborough, so it makes it much quicker for those long words. And then press start, and the flight plan's created, and just check your aircraft profile, and you're good to go. So much easier to flight plan and create your flight notifications. Awesome. And now I'll just move on to the next feature that's been released, is the plain text translator. So this one is available in SmartBrief. It is available only to premium subscribers. And the way it works is I've just popped over to the brief tab. Two ways to get the plain text translator. So just background on what it is it the acronyms you get in your weather plans, like in your TAF or META, it will expand the word. So FU, it will expand it to smoke. I hope I got one right. So two ways to get it. So I can tap on a region. So you can see my flight plan is created, the pink line. I'll tap in the field and the region of the gaff is displayed. You'll notice area A, can't see it there. Area A is highlighted in light blue. In the top left-hand corner, there's a little icon.
I'll just see if I can get that dot back.
Yeah, we'll try and get the dot back.
There we go.
Perfect. In the top left-hand corner is the translate button. So I'll tap on that. It should go red. And now you look back into the fields that you're reading and you'll notice that it's listed out broken, stratus, sorry. And another cool feature in this translator is it will convert Zulu time and it will also add in that local time. So yeah, if you want to just check that your conversion's correct, that's a good tool to use. Another way to get the plain text translator is to zoom closer into the map until you get the actual aerodrome. I'll tap on Archfield and you can see the translate button's already turned on because it's red. Now you can just read the translation, but if you don't want it, just tap on it, it'll go blue and it will turn it off. So that's one of the other features that's been added into Runway. And lastly, I'll cover our tap on map method. So if I'll head over to settings, we have a really good options in preferences. You'll see here, double tap on map. So if it's toggled on, I'll head over to the map page. And anywhere I tap on the map, on the aerodrome, will display the aerodrome chart. So if I double tap on Archerfield, the aerodrome chart pops up really quickly. So really handy if you're mid-flight and you haven't loaded the chart or you need to access it quickly and you don't want to go through the airfield list. It would look like this. You don't want to scroll through it or you don't want to search it. Just double tap on the map anywhere. There's Gold Coast. So really handy feature. While we were in preferences, I will also take note of our theme. So this one has been out for a while, I think. But for those that don't know about it, it's we're keeping up with the trends. We've got dark mode. So if I tap into dark mode, it's just the screen goes dark, just like your device would if you did it in the device settings area. And automatic just means it will follow the system preference of the device. So that's in the Android device settings. That's pretty much the main new features I have on Runway. Hopefully I didn't speak too fast, but please give us some questions that you want to hear from us. This is a Q&A, so we're here to answer your questions. So bring them in. Yeah.
I can see a couple already that I can answer off the top of my head. So Ben's asked what are KML overlays used for. So if we have a look on this kind of left sidebar down here, this is what we call our overlays bar. So it's where you can turn on different kinds of waypoint overlays or weather cameras, perhaps weather radar. But the one at the very bottom here is what we call a KML overlay. So I haven't actually loaded any in, but a KML file is essentially just a file that describes some shapes or points. You can make one in software like Google Earth, things like that. You can draw out, you can mark out an area, export it as a KML file and load it into Runway. And that will then overlay on the map. So you can do a bunch of different things with it. You can have different coloured lines, you can shade areas in, you could draw like a search pattern, for example, that you might want to follow while you're flying. import it in as a KML overlay, and it will just overlay on top of whatever map you're using there. So hopefully that answers your question there, Ben. Another question from Ben was, or maybe a comment more than a question, but search in PDF would be great. Agree, absolutely. So something I'll touch on here is if you do have any suggestions or feedback, recommendations, things you want to see, anything like that, please send them through to us. So we keep a list, we maintain a list of all the suggestions that we get and requests that we get, and we use that list to help shape our development priorities. So we can implement the things that people, want more people want to see more of, if that makes any sense. So please send them through to us. Just support@OzRunways.com. We'll absolutely write them down and keep track of them that way.
Yeah, we've got a list of all those suggestions and requests, and the developers go through it and it'll help see what tally of people want a certain feature, so we know the demand is higher for a certain one more than the other one. Yep.
Yeah, perfect. Question about SmartPlates there and when it will be available on Android. That's a good question. So SmartPlates is something new to OzRunways, just very, very recently. It's not on Android yet, so as I mentioned before, we've got a big list of things that we'd like to implement for Android, and we do that list kind of based on what people want to see the most. So if that's something you want to see, please send it on through, and we'll keep a note of that as well.
Yeah, I can see Shelley's come through with a question here. Can runways show the windsock indicator, a current QNH and frequency as on OzRunways when you tap an airfield? Potentially in the future. Currently I know it's not there, but we do have what's called aerodrome weather colours, if you've seen that one around, and it can be turned on the right hand side panel, where it show aerodrome weather colours. Make sure that's tapped on, and you'll get a colour filled in on the bubbles. You can see the ones that are green. If you tap into them, you'll get the meta and conditions listed here. So currently there's definitely more updates to come, and we'll add that to the tally, so thank you. But aerodrome weather colours are probably the quickest indication that Runway has to get the weather.
Yeah, absolutely. So you'll get we don't have the kind of pretty little windsock indicator, but you can see the meta pretty quickly there. So you can see the wind and the QNH just at a glance for where we have the meta information. So nice and easy there. Something else that's reasonably new that I think is worth mentioning. So Lena's made us a plan, and we're in that plan at the moment. So we've got our 2 lines of GPS HUD boxes up here. So these boxes are configurable. So if you just tap and hold on any one of them, I'll do the top left, tap and hold, you'll get a list with a whole bunch of options. So you can replace that HUD box with any one of these options. And you can do that for any of the boxes in the HUD except for this bottom right one. That one is always telling you what your current waypoint is.
Can you upload a PDF and attach it to a user-defined waypoint for private airfields? Really good question. That would be really handy to have in Runway, but currently no, it's not in there. We'll tally that one up, so thank you. We know what is needed next, but we'll put that in our tally system. But for those that don't know, there is a function in Apple that we could upload a document to the airfield, and that's certainly something on the radar for Runway.
Yeah, absolutely. Andrew's asked, he's got a SkyEcho installed in his plane. It's great having the extra traffic displayed, but it also adds a lot of clutter. So a lot of, airliners flying up at 30, 40,000 feet that you're probably not particularly interested in. Can we filter them out? So at the moment, I don't think we can at the moment. I haven't got the SkyEcho connected, but can you? I don't think we can at the moment, but we'll absolutely take note of that and see if we can add an option to filter out the ones that are high above you or just very far away from you. What we do at the moment though is the size of these bubbles on the screen is dynamic. So the ones that are further away, if I turn my bubble size down to something more reasonable, the ones that are further away from you or high above you actually appear a bit smaller. So you might be able to make out on the screen right now, these ones that are close to us here are significantly bigger than the ones that are further away down in New South Wales there. So that's the only filtering we do in Runway at the moment, but absolutely we'll take that down and see if we can completely filter out anyone that's ridiculously far away.
Yeah, I can see there's a question. My preferences does not have the enable visual touch indicator. That's just for our presentation today. So sorry, that's not a function in Runway at all. That's just so we can present and you can see where we're tapping on the screen. So sorry about that, but.
Yeah, so it will be there, Rob. That got implemented yesterday, just in time for our presentation today. So it's not out in one of the publicly available builds of Runway yet, but it's coming soon to an update near you. So keep an eye out for it. You'll be able to use it as well.
Also, I just popped up on the screen. I already preloaded on our Documents tab user manual. There's a question saying the weather coloured dots, what they mean, and they are exactly what you see for the iOS devices. They've got the same the range. And if you go into, I'll just quickly show how I got there for those that want to see it for themselves. If you just go onto the Documents tab at the bottom here and tap on Runway User Manual at the bottom, we've downloaded that PDF, tap into it, and you just scroll to page, I think it's page 8. At the bottom, it shows show aerodrome weather colours. So they're not in the legal, like aviation legal rules. It's just OzRunways generalised weather.
Yeah, good for situational awareness, but don't look at the dot, see that it's green and just take off without checking the weather. So there for situational awareness, it gives you a good idea, kind of a good big picture idea of what's happening. So take a look next time there's a front coming through your area, and you can just watch the sea of dots, turning kind of orange, yellow, with maybe some green behind them, and so it's a good way to see what the weather's doing as a big picture overview. But of course, always check the actual conditions as well. But if you're in a hurry and you need somewhere to land, then you can quickly see where around you is likely going to be a good place, for example.
Yeah, absolutely. Is there a feature comparison list between Runway and iOS? Absolutely, and we'll just post it in the chat now. It does get updated when features get updated, but yeah, have a look if you want to see the differences there and what's available.
Just to touch on that, because it is a common question, the difference in features between Runway and OzRunways. So essentially it comes down to Runway's about 5 years younger, so OzRunways has a 5-year head start on it. 5 years is a long time to be developing features, and we don't want to rush out updates for Runway and make it an unstable, not very nice product to use. So we're developing away as quick as we can, but at the same time we want a stable and reliable product. So good things take time, as they say, and we're getting through it. But yeah, that's the reason for that gap in features there. But we're plugging away and slowly closing it.
Yeah, exactly. While the questions keep coming through, I can point out some tip on the tablet that I can declutter the screen. So we have this icon on the top left corner of the left-hand sidebar. A bit of a mouthful. When I tap on it, when I tap on this icon here, everything that I have selected will disappear. So as you can see, the left-hand sidebar in my GPS HUD has disappeared. The way you can configure what you want to disappear when that button is tapped on is head over to the right-hand sidebar, this little icon here with the map and the little mechanical cog. You'll see toggle bars. Tap on that one, and anything that is ticked should disappear. So if I tap on everything, all of these options will disappear when I tap the icon on the left, just like that. Really convenient if you're flying with like a mobile device or a smaller tablet, or it's turbulent, and you just want to see the screen. Use that button there. And also I'll mention that there is a slider bar. That's what I was going on about. If it's turbulent, you've got a smaller device, you can increase the size of the sidebars, and it'll be easier to tap on. Yeah, so that's just a hot tip there. Yeah, thanks so much, Ben. That's really nice. Wonderful. Any more questions there?
Yeah, well, we keep rounding up those questions. Another little handy one while we're on the topic of turbulence. For anyone who's not familiar, on the right here we've got a little lock icon. So tapping that one locks a lot of the screen function, so you can't accidentally tap around. So if you try and move the map or tap on the map now, it's not going to work because we've got that screen lock on, and we get this message basically telling us that. So if it is bumpy and you find yourself accidentally ending up in places where you don't want to be in your runway, then just use that lock icon up there. So the buttons, some of the buttons around the screen still remain available, so you can switch maps if you need to, and things like that. But when you're ready to interact with it again, just tap that lock to unlock it. Back into map view options, where we were looking just before with Lena. So map view options is this button on the right here that I'm currently circling. So a few different things in here. You can turn the GPS HUD off and on. Doesn't happen often, but you can adjust the information in the HUD. So you can add or remove boxes there to really customize it, and you can also change the size of it if you're having trouble seeing it, or if you want to make it smaller even. So a few customization options there. Own ship position, so if you're in something other than a light single engine aeroplane, we've got the setting for you. So we'll just tap this settings cog next to it. We see our aircraft icon up here. So if I swipe from right to left on that one, we can flick through a few different icons. So you can have a few different ones there. You can also change the size of that icon if you want it bigger or smaller on the map page. And you can use these colour sliders, RGB sliders, to play with the colour of it as well. But we'll leave it at black for now. The track pointer option here, so if I zoom in on my aircraft, I'll just bring up my dot. So this pointer in front of the aircraft is what we call the 10 nautical mile track pointer. So the little dashes for increments on it are 1 nautical mile each, and the arrow out here at the end, 10 nautical miles. Just handy to kind of get an idea of scale of the map that you're currently looking at, because obviously we can zoom in and out on the map, which is going to change our perception a little bit there. So you've got that 10 nautical mile pointer to kind of as a reference to get a feel for how far away something is. Handy also if you're tracking to an aerodrome or airfield somewhere, and you need to make your 10 nautical mile call. So what was that one? Track pointer. Show bearing line. This is another common question that we get actually. So this one's turned off at the moment. I'm going to turn it on, and what the bearing line actually does is it draws this green flashing line that we can see that's come up, And this line is going from our current GPS position, so where our aircraft icon is, and it's taking us to the current active waypoint. So we can see the active waypoint in this HUD box here, so Maryborough. So this bearing line is always taking you from where you are to your next active waypoint. So if you go off track for some reason, you've got that green line to follow to your next waypoint. But if it's annoying you, you can switch it off in map view options. The 10 nautical mile circle, it's a little bit hard to see, but you might notice on the edge of the track pointer out here, we've got the beginning of this yellow ring or orange ring. So this is our 10 nautical mile circle. Same principle, it just gives you an idea of scale. This one's adjustable though, so if you want to change the range of that circle, you can do that there. So if you want to set a different value for any reason, that's where you jump in to do that. I'll just touch on the last two things in here while we are here. So show runways is, let's go up to Maryborough. If you've got show runways switched on, what it's going to do is it's going to show some extended center lines, some overlays like this one here for the points in your plan. So this is Maryborough. We've got the runway data for Maryborough, so we know it's 1735 and 1230, so we can overlay that on the map. So again, good for situational awareness when you're coming into somewhere, so you can orient yourself, get a bit of a feel for what it looks like. And lastly,
You can turn on the runways for every airfield as well.
oh yeah, so
That's right.
in the settings here, you can choose whether you want to see all of the runways in your plan or just the next one or just the last one. Do you remember which one it is?
Oh,
If you don't have
just the
show all
last one.
Yeah, so if you've got that
Landing point.
deselected, it'll only show the runways for the last point in your plan. So you can choose between all of them or just the last ones there. And the last one was aerodrome weather colours, which Lena's already touched on there. All right.
I see there's just a kind of like a statement saying video tutorials are great, but can you update older tutorial videos as many things do not match the app anymore? Good point. I'd like to bring up that we just recently updated or released a runway Android planning YouTube video. So it just shows the new way that you create a plan using the search method, the quick plan method, the tap on map method, and the rubber band method. So watch that video. It's about 6 minutes long. It's brand new, and we are aware there are some older videos. We have updates coming in quite frequently, so catching up on those videos is on our to-do list. Absolutely. Yeah, I think there's... When using SkyEcho, should you turn off your device's GPS?
Yeah, great question, Tim. So no, I probably wouldn't. I believe that it will kind of use a blended source. Your tablet will kind of use a blended source and pick whichever is going to be the more accurate source. So you're probably better off having too many sources than not enough. So I'd just leave your device GPS on as well. That way also, if the SkyEcho does happen to drop out for whatever reason, runs out of battery, then your tablet GPS is going to pick up the slack, and you're going to keep being able to follow along with it where you are. So I'd recommend leaving your tablet GPS on there for sure.
I think Abby, sorry if I pronounced it wrong, but can you add a button on the main screen to turn off plane bubbles? I believe it's still on the map screen, so this T icon is our traffic bubble displayer. So if you tap on it, just where it says show on map, just tap it and they'll all disappear. So it is on the map screen. It's just trying to connect to our SkyEcho, I think.
Oh yeah, that's what it's doing. But I turned it off, so it's not going to have much luck. Question from Shelley. So, will there be a show terrain overlay option as there is in OzRunways? So at the moment there is no option, but we will absolutely take that note of that on our feature request list. In fact, it's already there, so what we'll do is we'll add a vote down for it. So yeah, please guys, again, if you've got any requests or suggestions, send them on through, because we log every single one of them, and we use those to help us decide what we're going to do next based on what you guys want.
Yes, I think we're coming towards the end. Last final questions.
So Danny's got a question from Danny. Android devices, there's a large choice of hardware. Any recommendations for devices that don't have temperature issues, like those of perhaps the iPads? Yeah, that's a good question. So heat and electronics in general just don't mix. So iPads, tablets, none of them are really going to be liking heat. I don't know of any hardware particularly that is designed to minimise that heat issue, but they may be out there. What we typically recommend for everyone is setting your device up so that it doesn't generate or accumulate as much heat as it might otherwise. So things like keeping it out of the sun is going to be a huge one. That's, to be honest, probably going to make the most difference. Keep it out of the sun at every possible opportunity you can. Charging it, especially if you've got like a high power battery bank that's charging it quite fast, whenever you're charging the battery, that's generating heat as well, on top of the heat that the device itself is generating just from doing its processing. So if you are having issues with heat, try unplugging it from the charger as much as you can. Obviously we don't want it to go flat, but if you've got a full battery or nearly a full battery and it's still trying to charge away, just unplug the charger to minimise the heat coming from there. Screen brightness is another one that's got a pretty significant effect on heat. So the brighter your screen, the more heat that's going to generate. So a couple of options there. You can either turn your brightness down, to a level where you can still see it, but maybe not full brightness. Or if you aren't going to be looking at the tablet for a decent amount of time, just lock the screen. So leave Runway running, but just tap that lock button to make the screen go blank, and then bring it up when you need it again. The handy tip, if you are doing that one, is to maybe turn off your passcode or whatever, so that you can just flick up on the screen and it will unlock, and you don't have to try and tap in your 6 digits or whatever it is, especially when you're bumping around, or if you're drawing a pattern and you're going like this, it's probably not going to work very well. So turn off that lock option if you are going to lock the screen there. But yeah, so keep it out of the sun. If it's a huge problem with heat issues, try not to charge it. Turn the brightness down a bit. And if you can get an air vent on it, that also helps as well. So if you can put it somewhere and direct your air vent to run over the device to help dissipate that heat, that's a good help. And also if it's in a really thick case, you might want to think about taking it out, because if it's in that case, that's just going to store the heat and really not help at all. So if you can take it out of the case, do that as well. So hopefully that helps out. They're probably the biggest 3 or 4 things that will help with heat issues there.
And check out our knowledge base. We do have a document on what Android device we would recommend. We cross-check that with our Android developer, and just make sure that it's new. If you buy secondhand, just really make sure that there's no issues with it, because that could always, you never know. But the newer the device, the better, and make sure it's got GPS capability. So some of the newer ones, I think there was some mention in the channels. I think there was a new Google coming out with no GPS capability. Just make sure there is one.
Yeah, definitely. Good question from John here. Is there a way to get the runway at your destination to show on the map for private airfields, as well as some of the larger, kind of more official airfields? So we're back looking at the show runways feature. So we zoomed in on Maryborough before, and we can see our runway, we can see our runway overlay on the map there. So this will appear for any airfields that we have runway data for, essentially. So a lot of the more official ones, so those ones that have the Air Services Y code, 4-letter Y code. So for most of those, we're going to have runway data. For the private airstrips, we do maintain our own data set for those, called the OzRunways Airfield Guide, which you may or may not be familiar with. So if I'm just going to turn on our ALA overlays here, and if we just kind of jump up into getting into some real tiger country out here, you might see on the map now we've got a few of these ALAs showing up that have this Oz code. So they're not official Air Services waypoints, but we've put them in because we've got some information about some runways that might be there. So this is a good way, if you've got an airstrip, or if you know of an airstrip, you might own one, you might have a friend that has one, and you want it to show up in OzRunways, just need to get in touch with us. We'll give you a form to fill out with a few details, and we can get it to show up in OzRunways. And you can use these waypoints to plan to and from, just like any other waypoint, and we can even add in the actual runway data. So that one takes a little bit of time, but we can add the data in, and that data will power that runway overlay feature. So we can absolutely show runway overlays for private airfields. We just need to have the info in our OzRunways Airfield Guide. So just please, if you know of any airstrips like that, just get in touch with us and we can add it in for you.
Garmin, we don't integrate with Garmin right now. It's possible down the track, but they've got some limitations that we don't have approval for, so we can't make that connection.
All right, we might just do a few last questions here. We don't want to keep you guys too long. We've got a question from Colin. So the Galaxy Tab A won't accept an update for runway. Can you recommend another Android device? Good question. So a few elements to this. So as we're probably all pretty used to by now, as your devices start to get older, the software on them can no longer be updated. It's pretty true of all of our personal devices these days, tablets, phones, even watches if you've got one. After a certain amount of time, it just gets too old and you can't update it. A lot of reasons for that, but it's just kind of a fact of life. It's not going away anytime soon. So you do have to think about getting a new tablet every now and then, especially if you can't run the latest versions of things. So if you are thinking of getting a new tablet, there's a lot of variety in the Android world. We typically recommend Samsung tablets, so the Tab A series or the Tab S series. The Tab S series, I think, is the more premium series or something like that. But the name of that, they're always called Tab A and Tab S, so you've got to make sure you're getting a newer one rather than an older one that's going to have the same problems with updating. So anywhere, any kind of store, JB Hi-Fi, Good Guys, any electronic store is really going to be selling the newer models, so you should be pretty safe there. And as to my knowledge, all the Tab A's and Tab S's have GPSs in them, so you're good to go there. The only thing to watch out for is if you want to use cellular internet, make sure you get one that's capable of having a SIM card put in it. Other than that, not too many recommendations that I can think of. There was a new tablet that came out recently by, I think it's the Google Pixel or something like that. Looked really good. We were even going to get one ourselves, but it doesn't have GPS in it, which is kind of core to everything we do, so that really ruled that one out. It's a bit disappointing. So yeah, the Samsung range, the Tab A, Tab S, that would be our recommendation for the moment. All right, so I think we'll wrap it up there, guys. Thanks so much for coming, and thank you for your patience while we had those tech issues at the start. We really want to do more of these, and we'll get that ironed out so that next time we can start on time. We'll pop a few links in the chat for you though, so if you want to have a look at this recording later, we'll send it out via email. We'll pop a link in the chat so you can sign up to the email list and get a copy of that. We'll also pop in a feedback form. Other than the tech issues, which we will absolutely get fixed, please give us some feedback about you know, the kind of things that you want to see, what you thought was helpful or perhaps not helpful. Yeah, we're really happy to take any feedback on board there. And lastly, if you had a question that we didn't answer, please write into us at support@ozrunways.com. You'll probably get me or Lena answering you. And hopefully we'll be nice and helpful. We respond pretty quickly, and we try and be as helpful as we can. So if we didn't get around to answering your question, please send it on through or join us for the next webinar and ask it then. But yeah, thanks so much everyone for tuning in. We're going to leave you on the Matt Hall video just because it's a bit of fun and we like to watch it.
Bye, thank you.
We plan all our flights with OzRunways, made down under for Aussie and Kiwi pilots. It saves us so much flight planning time, and I like to work smarter, not harder.
Whether I'm flying for work or fun, I always take OzRunways with me. I need to know what's out there and who's out there with me. By reducing workload, I can concentrate on the fun stuff. The app increases safety by giving me overall situational awareness. Everything is just a tap away.
Whether I'm flying hang gliders, race planes or jets, I can always rely on OzRunways. It's the best EFB on the market, and it's the only app we need.